I haven't seen one like that since Streisand.
Barbara?
Well, who else? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Holt Harmonics. We're here to do a little bit of theater content for you. I'm Jake.
I'm Teanca.
And we do content about theater. We're theater people, which not Broadway actors, but we do other shows, and some of them are online on this YouTube channel. You could look at them.
You could look at them.
Today, we are going to be doing some more theater Reddit stories from our theater subreddit. We're going to dive into the world of the things that have happened to people in that world while performing, while rehearsing, all the craziness that comes along with being a thespian.
Yes.
And so we shall begin. Our first story of the evening is from Abacus Wizard. I think college theater should be televised, just like college sports. And people should talk about theater the same way they talk about, say, football. That's just the title of the story. I heard the Timberwolves are doing Newsies this season, even though their team is predominantly women. What the fuck is this play calling? Fire the head coach. The Cougars just don't know how to use their weapons. They got Jack Thomas as the lead in everything they do, but he just can't hit the beats. Get him off the field.
Oh, roast Jack.
I feel like Jack deserves consideration at least.
Yeah, hello?
I think Joseph Krishnikov is an underrated member of the Hurricanes. He's only been ensemble in everything they do, but I can see that kid is a stud. He's going to be a star player in the coming years. So these are all very cheesy, actually. I do like the idea of there being a televised college theater with commentation that you could watch like on TV, right? Like you can college football.
That's a really funny idea. Just like the two sports commentators.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Susan Daniels pulling out that pirouette like no one else.
I haven't seen one like that since Streisand.
Barbara?
Well, who else?
Holy shit.
It sort of reminds me of Pitch Perfect, Elizabeth Banks, and the other guy that's in a lot of things, and he's really funny. And they like commentate on the show that's happening, and I could see that.
I like that too, especially because I went to a school that was a performing arts college. We didn't have any sports. Like we didn't have like a team to rally behind or like a cheer to do or anything like that. We just had shows and stuff. I love the idea of that getting the same sort of like sports treatment. Like we could have mascots in there.
It is funny that because you went to AMDA, a musical theater academy, that your curriculum was based on theater. Like your math classes were like music, right?
Yeah, it was like piano, like substituted the place of math. Our science classes was like anatomy of the actor, like the vocal anatomy and stuff, which was all very fascinating. Yeah, my friend would always call me and be like, how's fake school? And I'm like, it's really hard, actually. Thank you so much for asking.
It seems, based on what you've told me, like the schedules and like the rehearsals on top of everything else and having to be in some of the shows, like it seemed intense.
It was pretty grueling. My last semester, especially, I was taking 22 credits because it was expensive and I had to graduate as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah, you had to get out of there.
Yeah, I was there from 6 a.m. to midnight every day.
Jeez.
For an entire semester, just doing classes and shows.
But yeah, on top of that, she was in Sunday in the Park with George at AMDA, which was a huge production. And it would have been awesome if they streamed it and people were like, everyone could have watched it.
I love there's like a halftime show too. All of a sudden, it's like so serious. And it's like
ooh.
Sunday. Then cheerleaders and a mascot come out for the halftime show, which is intermission.
Yeah, that's a fun thought. Abacus Wizard.
Are there any good comments?
This is a good sketch comedy premise. Disney might be making a move for the first overall draft pick. A lot of people will be bringing their A game tonight in West Side Story, everybody.
This person says that their high school shows were televised on the local cable network. It played a big part in me getting cast in other things.
That's actually
so
wild.
Cool.
So it's happened. I'm sure there's plenty of like actually like you can stream this like digital digitization of musical theater, but like the idea that it's presented like a sporting event, I think is what they're going with it.
For sure.
It would be funny for sure. They track stats.
Yeah.
Like, looks like Donnie has
stats.
4 notes above a high C tonight. And yes, he's broken his personal record, 4 pirouettes, like you said. He sashayed away right into the history books, Carl.
Oh, but it looked like he did not opt up. He opted out, and that's going to be a penalty. Red flag on the field.
Okay.
right.
Next story.
This one comes from dancer Lottie. Costume designer laughed at me because I have small boobs. That's the title.
That's toxic right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat, not looking good. She says, this happened to me last week and has been kind of bugging me ever since. I'm quite flat chested and it's not something that usually bothers me. It's just the way my boobs are. The costume designer for a show I'm in came to meet us and brought her assistant to take our measurements. When the lady taking measurements called out my boob measurement for the costume designer to write down, the costume designer laughed and asked her to measure again. She came over, saw that the measurement was right, laughed again, then made a comment about how that was ridiculously small and how there was hardly anything there. This happened in front of the whole cast. Am I being too sensitive? Or was it out of line for her to comment that?
I think that firmly falls out of line.
So fucked up. First of all, I take a huge issue with like costume fittings being in front of the whole cast. I think that's something that should be done.
I've had that.
I have too, and I don't think it's okay. I think that's something that needs to be done privately. And I've had theaters too where like they do make it a whole thing of like taking you aside, doing it individually, and that's how it should be done.
I agree. Yeah.
I think theater, like the theater world, because I don't know why, because of the nature of just like what you do, there tends to be like this feeling of permission that a lot of authority figures within theater have to like make comments on your body, which I think more of a conversation is coming around about that, which is great.
People are hiring intimacy coordinators.
Yeah, which is awesome.
We had one when we did Spam-A-Lot.
We did.
Even though we were married and we had a very small comedic kiss in the show, they were like, we have to do these intimacy steps before every show. And we had to like,
clap
there's
in.
this whole ritual. And it was funny because we were married and we were just like, all right, we have to do a funny little kiss and that's it. Having that is very valuable. Like we went along with all of it and didn't, because it's a good thing to have people do.
Yeah, I think that's a huge step for theater because, I mean, even when I went to college, like it was crazy how many teachers and people in authority would just talk about people's bodies in front of the whole class.
Yeah.
And be like, you're too fat for this role. Your boobs, whatever. Like crazy.
No, yeah. And it's more than just calling out appearances. It's like there are those people in the theater world that, and this is probably just the community, I don't know if this is in Broadway too, find permissions in other things, like thinking that it's okay to talk more sexually around people or like behave creepily. Like it's a weird world because you're living in this fantasy narrative of doing a show, but it's also real life. The lines get blurred for some people.
And I think it does like start from the top. Whatever the tone is set at the top, that's kind of what you're going to get at the bottom too. So like people in authority, like costumers, things like that, they need to be responsible for creating safe spaces for people within theater.
Of course, like they were out of line.
Yeah, and so she has an update too, and she says, thanks for all the comments and advice. I now know her behavior was wrong and unprofessional. Mentioned it to the stage manager today after rehearsal, and she was shocked by the costume designer's behavior. Apologized on behalf of the theater company and said she'll relay what happened to the production team so they can deal with it because it's unacceptable. Best case scenario.
Yeah, she reported it. It sounds like it was taken seriously, and that's all you can do. But these sort of microaggressions like this, I mean, that one was kind of pretty macro, honestly, but like little things like that happen every day in like that world. So it's good to see people like saying something and bringing it up.
Some comments I see some other people mentioning like public costume fittings is a privacy violation. Only people in the room should be costumers and the one actor.
Sorry that happened to you, dancer Lottie.
Yeah.
Next story. Do people check what musicals are about before taking their little kids to see them? All right, we got an age-old problem here. This is from Temporary Secretary. With all threes instead of E's.
Yes.
I was just in a production of Rent that was absolutely awesome and sold out every night in a town where that definitely doesn't happen often. However, every night without fail, in the very front row would be parents with their kids who couldn't be any older than 10.
Oh no.
It was different parents every night too. This is despite the fact that both on the ticketing website and in the auditorium itself, there were signs everywhere saying the show featured adult content, including sexual situations, drug use, and swearing. We had parents leave with their kids halfway through the show because the content matter, even though they really should have known what they were getting into. And that's exactly the answer. Oh yeah, they keep going. Do parents just not check the subject matter of what they take their kids to simply because it's a musical? It's so easy to just Google what a show is before taking taking little kids, and it felt really awkward doing the more sexual or inappropriate scenes knowing there were uninformed kids in the audience. I wouldn't care as much if the parents didn't then leave during intermission. Am I overreacting, or should parents be checking the subject matter of plays more thoroughly before taking their little kids? I mean, this is just such an obvious, of course it's not on you, it's on them. Yes. Like,
this is so funny to me because I was that child when I was a kid. Like, my dad constantly
would take you to inappropriate stuff.
Or had, so his secretary took me and my brother to see Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was like 11 maybe, and my brother was like 9.
Told me this story. I know this story.
And so we went to Rocky Horror Picture Show as like kids, absolutely traumatized. So much sex on stage, and we were just like, and his secretary was furious.
Dude
with
getting
my dad.
killed by a chainsaw.
We went to Rent actually when we were really, really young. Maureen, she like moons the audience at one point, and me and my brother are just like, oh, that's a butt.
That's an ass though.
That's a butt. I 100% blame my dad. It's his fault. Yeah, parents need to look up what shows are about.
In all aspects of life, it just will shock any of us and all of us about how negligent some parents can be. It does not take a lot of effort to like figure out how to screen content for your kids.
It's so easy. Like, I mean, even if you don't want to look up like the full Wikipedia synopsis of what the show is, like you can Google, hey, is Rent appropriate for kids? And you'll immediately see no.
Heroin, sex.
Yeah.
Moonings. Rampant moonings.
So I think that was the first time I saw a butt in real life that was not my own.
It was Maureen's.
It's Maureen's. It was also like a front row situation. Like we were in the front row, and I was just like, if you're my brother, I was just like, don't look at the butt.
It sucks. Yeah. Like as an actor, that's like, they're not a Broadway actor, right? Like this sounds like a community theater actor that if you notice something in the audience and like it can get in your head, and then it's hard to perform those scenes when you're like, there's kids watching me. And it's like, you kind of just really have to do a good job of turning that off and just playing the scene like you always play it.
Yeah, which it's easier said than done for sure. Like I remember when I was in high school, we did this straight play called Dearly Departed, and it had like very adult themes in it, like miscarriage, sex, like crazy stuff. My teacher invited middle schoolers to come and watch it. It was the worst. They were just like laughing the whole time and jeering. No. And we were just like, oh God, fuck this. We're just trying to get through.
That's rough. What are the audience? What are the comments saying? Maybe I'm weird, but I saw it as a tiny child with no problem. It was my favorite musical at like 4 or 5 years old. I mean,
the music slaps, whether you know what it's about or not.
It's a good show, but like if it didn't disturb you or send you off on a weird mental road as a kid, then you're probably fine. Like,
well, and I think it's one of those things too, right? Where it's like if the parents are going to be the kind that take issue with it and leave at intermission, then they should be screening things better.
Yeah. Okay, next story.
This one comes from confused_thespian. Aren't we all? Does having an unnatural hair color make me less castable? I've been dyeing my hair blue for over a decade now, and it's a big part of my identity. However, I'm currently in school for musical theater and need to get headshots and start auditioning very, very soon. I was wondering if it would impact my chances in any way, and I noticed that not many people that I follow in the industry nor my classmates have any sort of unnatural hair color. If it could potentially be a hindrance, I'll just stop dyeing it and let it grow out, but it would be nice to be able to continue if that wouldn't be a problem.
Just a big depends, but like leaning towards it. I mean, it shouldn't really, like if you're not in a really big production where like, you know, something community or school, I don't think it should matter.
Even for Broadway, a lot of times you're wigged. Like it doesn't matter.
That is true.
We're at a place now where back when I was going to school, like there was very much like I had an industry class where they talked about like natural colors and tattoos and piercings and whatever. But now I think it's more of like, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. There are so many people, right, who are submitting headshots, and if they all look like the same fucking generic person, like it's not that interesting. So like,
yeah, That's
Dress
true.
like you and show your own individual style, especially like you never know what kind of like niche you might fit that maybe somebody else wouldn't that has natural hair. And if there's an issue with it, you can dye your hair then, or you can wear a wig, or if you have piercings or tattoos, like you can cover them, whatever.
Yeah, if you're the right person for the role, that shouldn't be a major deterrent. If it is, then it's probably a mistake on the casting team.
I get it because
Like, I'm not casting you because you have blue hair.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case at all. And I know it's hard in an industry where it's like there is so much that's out of your control. You can kind of hyperfixate on those things that you can control, like your hair or whatever, what you look like. I just don't think that it really matters all that much.
Let's see what the audience says, as I like to call them now.
For a slightly different point of view, I didn't get any roles for years. Eventually decided, screw it, got the septum piercing I always wanted and dyed my hair pink. Lo and behold, I go from nothing on my resume to booking 3 back-to-back professional regional roles.
Oh, dang.
1 musical, 2 plays. Having pink hair has definitely cut me off from some of the more mainstream roles, especially in musical theater, but the more I've embraced looking like me, the better I seem to do.
Yeah, because you look like an individual and like a person with personality rather than, like you said, like a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, it's the same brunette with the same exact haircut.
Well, and I think like the more that you feel comfortable with your own identity, the more people are able to feel that. Like people can feel in the room if you are just like uncomfortable, don't know who you are, and vice versa.
Knowing who you are, being confident and just owning it, that goes a long way.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the kind of place the theater world should be.
This person says, wouldn't bother me or my company. Hair can be changed or wigged. Tattoos can be covered. What matters is your talent and how you fit the vision of the play.
Boom.
Exactly.
Gaslight Caravan with a banger of a comment.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean, like, it really comes down to like, are you good for the part? If a fucking nose ring changes that, then they're doing a bad job.
That was awesome.
I definitely fell into that like more, I need to be very cookie cutter. And then I said, fuck it. And I got all my tattoos and I got all my piercings and
lo and behold,
I'm doing fine.
Thanks for the role. Thanks for the role. Ooh, Lady Macbeth. Ooh, Lady of the Lake. Thanks. I'll take them all.
Yeah, Lady Macbeth, she had some piercings. You couldn't see them, or tattoos. You couldn't see them. It was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It would have looked cool if you could, I think.
Yeah, it's a choice. My Lady of the Lake had tattoos. Didn't bother covering them up because I was too tired. Nobody cared.
And she's like a Vegas singer. Like, you could have tats. That's fine.
Yeah. I had my nose ring. I didn't take it out. It was fine. Those are all our Reddit stories.
That's
all
the story.
Today.
Yeah, that's all of our stories for this episode. Of course, in the comments, I'd like to know if any of you have had any run-ins or experiences with any of these stories.
Yeah.
Costume designers, college theater, televising, having kids in the audience leaving at intermission, or having unnatural hair colors.
Seeing a butt on stage for the first time.
Yeah, let's tell some stories. Let's chat. We want to get involved and make this into a bit of a community. Also, we're going to have videos coming out every Tuesday and Thursday about theater stuff, the theater world. Also, we're going to be doing covers, getting on the music side of things, and it's going to be really fun. So hit a subscribe if you want to get notified when those videos are coming out. And thanks for being here and being a part of Holt Harmonics.
Yeah, dye your hair.
Go dye it purple tonight.
Now.